2011, I was in Afghanistan and I was shot 10 times, 5 times on the shoulder, 4 times in the hip, once in the thigh. The guy was like 15 feet from me. So I needed something. When it gets quiet is when the demons knock the loudest, and COVID was very quiet. I live in Afghanistan a lot. I think about my friends that didn't make it back. There's only 2 places in the world where it disappears, and one of them is when I'm on my motorcycle, and the other is when, as soon as I step on stage, it's like all of that disappears, and I'm able to just live in a moment.
So wait, not till 2020 you didn't pick up the guitar?
Yeah.
You realize that was 5 years ago, and now you're doing songs with Dolly Parton?
Right?
That's
Wild.
so
Crazy.
wild.
I made my Grand Ole Opry debut.
What was that like?
One of the greatest nights of my life. For me, music is bigger than just me.
Scotty Hasting is a country recording artist, Paralympian, veteran, and Purple Heart recipient. After being shot 10 times by an enemy ambush while deployed in Afghanistan, he's found healing through music and giving back to the veteran community. We're recording today's podcast on location at the beautiful and historic Soundstage Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. There have been more than 500 #1 hits recorded here by legendary artists from Johnny Cash, George Strait, and Merle Haggard to Carrie Underwood and Shania Twain. It's truly an honor to record in a space with such a rich and important history.
The fact that we're getting extra record here is really cool. I'm very excited. I'm honored.
The history here is insane. Yeah, me too.
Now let's get into it.
We're good. Okay, whiskey in a bottle has been stuck in my brain so much. I don't know if I love you or I hate you.
Dude, I get it, man. It gets stuck, man. Even for me.
Yeah.
Like I'll play a show and Whiskey in the Bottle is the very last song that we do in every show. And I'm still like, I'll be walking off the stage like whiskey in a bottle. It's just stuck in my head. I'm like, dang it.
What's weird is like when you're in the music industry, I was in it for a long time. A lot of times you can only hear like technical things, like the mixing of the drums, the guitars. But like when sometimes you can be removed actually from the song and just hear it and vibe with it, it's kind of rare sometimes for me. I know. And so when I heard it, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jake was like, I did exactly what he described. I was like, this just vibes. This is a good song. And Jake, who's been a songwriter for a long time, was like, the song, like itself, the writing, like this is a cool concept. This idea of like, don't leave anything behind.
100%, man. It's a great song. That song was pitched to me.
Really?
You know, that song was written by some amazing songwriters, including Lee Brice. And,
really?
Yeah. And it's funny, Lee Brice, for the longest time, I think like 5 or 6 years, he had it and he had tried to like record it and it didn't work. For him, it just didn't sound like what he wanted it to. And so then I recorded a version and he heard it and he was like, I didn't know that we were writing this song for you. Like, dang.
Well, I feel like your story, and we'll get into that, but also, and your voice kind of fit really good with it, and it just sold it.
I love that song.
Do you ever get a point where like, you're like, wait, I get to sing this song? Someone's pitching it to me.
Oh, always.
Okay.
Oh, every time. You know, man, I get pitched songs all the time by amazing songwriters, and it's like, what the hell? Like, I'm like, this is crazy.
You've done a project, I think this year, I want to say, with Lee Brice and Dolly, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we did Till Last Shot's Fired, me, Lee Brice, and Dolly, which is still insane. Man, it's wild.
Like,
yeah, you know, that song was super important to me because when I was at Walter Reed, the first time I ever heard it, we were at an event, and that song came on, and it like touched a part of my heart that I didn't even know existed, and I cried like a baby. It was the first time I'd ever heard that song. And in that moment, I decided that I was going to live my life to the fullest, and I was going to not let my injury dictate my life, and I was going to live my life for my best friends that would never have the opportunity. And then fast forward 10 years, and I'm sitting in the office upstairs with Doug Johnson, who's one of the co-writers of that song, and he's like, hey, man, what do you think about doing a version of that? And I was like, yeah, man, like that song changed everything for me. I would love to. And so we did a version, and we came down here in Soundstage Studios, and I recorded my version where it was just me, and all the feelings when I first heard that song, I put it into this song.
It sounded emotional. It sounded real.
And so then we had my version, and it was just me, and Doug was like, man, this is amazing. Like, we could put this out, or we could reach out to some other artists and see if they want to be a part of it. Like, what do you think? And I was like, dude, send it to everybody. Like, let's see. Like, that'd be crazy. And Lee Brice was the first one to say that he's like, man, I don't care what part I play in this. I want to be a part of what you're doing with this. That's awesome. And so then it was me and Lee, and it was amazing, man. And it was perfect, I thought. And then I got a call probably 3 weeks later after that, and Doug called me and he's like, "Hey, Dolly Parton wants to be on this song. Like, what do you think?"
First off, I would be like, BS. What are you talking about?
Well, I was like,
Dolly
dude,
Parton.
I was like, why are you calling me? Like, let her do whatever she wants. Like, it's Dolly Parton, man.
Yeah.
And so she did her part, and a couple weeks later, Doug called me and he's like, "Hey, I got Dolly's version. Do you want to hear it?" And I was like, again, I feel like we're having conversations that don't need to happen. Like, just send it. And he did, and I listened to it for the first time, and I remember having to stop and pull over on the side of the road because I was just, man, I cried for probably hours, man. And I to the point of where I couldn't concentrate on driving anymore. I had to pull over. And it wasn't just like that this song that changed everything became perfect in this moment. It was the fact that, Lee Brice and Dolly Parton, like, they have music that will truly live forever, and these are legends, and the fact that they could have said no, and they could have went on with their life, and they could have been incredibly successful because they already are. And we just would have went on with our lives. But they decided to take the time to not only be a part of the song, but be a part of my journey and my story. And I think just not only hearing the song and what it means to me, but then also feeling the weight of the fact that these two incredible artists, people, like legends, also wanted to share that and be a part of it. It's just like, man, it made me incredibly emotional.
We talk about these like little milestones in your career as a musician, and we were talking about going from, an opener to the headliner.
Yeah.
I feel like having huge iconic stars also on your songs is like one of those other milestones, right?
Yeah.
Now
absolutely.
you didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't start off as wanting to be an artist many years ago. So
No.
I think we should backtrack a little bit. I think
100%.
Well, obviously you're reaching some success,
Yes.
and you're getting some notoriety. For gosh sakes, Dolly Parton's on your song.
Yeah.
But let's go back a little bit. That wasn't kind of your plan.
Yeah, man. I grew up in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area. I decided in October of 2010 that I would join the United States military. I enlisted in the Army, and at the time I was playing baseball, and I wasn't making any money, and I had a family that I needed to support. And
your plan was like minor league baseball or something?
Yeah, it was like
that was your
it was a
full-time?
semi-pro
He was
independent
playing in his
league.
backyard.
Yeah,
just not working, just like recreation.
No, it was like a semi-pro independent league out in Kentucky,
Okay.
and
Well, you're a big dude. What are you? How tall are you?
6'4".
He
Yeah, I
played
mean, like,
linebacker
you're
for
athlete.
for baseball.
Yeah, for baseball.
No, but I mean,
I was the first baseman in baseball.
Okay.
And,
Wow.
Right.
yeah, I mean, I was slow, but I could hit the crap out of the ball. But
That's awesome.
but yeah, man, I was playing and I wasn't making any money, and I needed a way to support my family. But not only that, I always felt like I needed to be a part of something else. Like I had lived a very selfish life moving, throughout all that whole time. And I was like, man, I need to do something that means something. Like, I'm over here, like, playing baseball, not making any money. Like, I need to do something that matters. And in the military was always something I felt like I needed or wanted to do. And one day I just went and enlisted in the Army, and that was in 2010. And then April 21st, 2011, I was in Afghanistan, and I was shot. I was shot 10 times, 5 times on the shoulder, 4 times in the hip, once in the thigh. And
I was saying you got 1 on 50 Cent because he got 9 shots. You got 10.
Yeah, I'm trying to do a song with 50 Cent.
Yeah,
So
do
50, if
a
you
rap
got, like,
album.
Absolutely.
I assume you took was it AK rounds? Do you know?
Yeah, it was a PKM.
Okay, because I'm guessing that
yeah.
50 didn't take.
No.
Take
His was
it was
9.
PKM.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Whoa.
7.62 by 51 or something like that.
Holy cow!
Yeah, I think something like that. I don't
So you
remember,
took
yeah.
how many to the shoulder?
5 to the shoulder, 4 to the hip, 1 to the thigh. But
What do you mean hip? Like, are we talking like
I'm
pelvis?
missing I'm missing a chunk out of my hip. Like, it literally like took skin, like a giant chunk of my hip, and just ripped it all out.
Man.
Yeah.
It's wild that you survived.
Yeah.
When I heard this, he told me, and I was like, 10.
Yeah.
Like,
It's insane.
what a blessing and a miracle.
Oh, yeah, it's a miracle. The craziest part is that it didn't hit like any bones or anything. Like, it was just through and through. Like, every single one of them was through and through. The only hard part was the guy was like 15 feet from me. So
Oh,
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that I deal with, and after I got shot, it was really hard. Like, PTSD, depression, anxiety had hit really, really quickly and really hard, and I needed something to escape. I needed a way to just kind of get out of my head, and at the time at Walter Reed, I was there. I was inpatient for a month, and then I was outpatient for 6 months, and then I went back to Fort Riley to be with my guys when they got back from Afghanistan. And while I was at Fort Riley, they offered therapy and adaptive sports. And I was like, man, I've been playing sports my whole life. Like, maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need that as like a therapeutic resource. So they gave us this list of all these different things. It was like sitting volleyball, wheelchair basketball, archery, all these different things. And so I tried every single one of them. And I learned very quickly that this hand doesn't do well with a wheelchair because it gets stuck in the spokes, and that was a scary moment. And then there were just some things that weren't really it for me. And then I tried archery, and that kind of changed everything. I immediately fell in love with it. I'm originally right-handed, so when I went in to try archery, they're like, "Oh, well, what's your dominant hand?" And I was like, well, my right hand's my dominant hand. I have no feeling in it, but it's still my dominant hand. He was like, okay, well, we'll put like a little release on your hand, and you can just go with that. And I was like, okay, great. And we found out pretty quickly, like 3 arrows in the ceiling later, that not being able to feel this hand is super important. Because my finger would just like sit on the trigger. And so I didn't know it was on there. So I'd go to pull back, and it would just like throw up into the ceiling. And he was like, dude, you're a liability. Like, stop. And I was like, man, like, so I got kicked out at that time. And I was like, man, like, there's no way that I can't do this. Like, I need to figure out, there's got to be a way. And I went back like the next week, and he's like, no. Like, you need to leave. Like, we've already talked about the fact that you're a liability. Like, you need. And I was like, let me try left-handed. Like, whenever you taught me how to shoot archery, you said that this hand that's holding the bow just kind of sits there and it doesn't do anything. Well, that's what this hand is really good at doing anyhow. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what if we just wrap this hand around the bow and I shoot left-handed? And he's like, well, let's give it a shot. I mean, at this point, anything's better than what happened last week.
What's your dominant eye, though? Like, when you shoot a gun?
It was my right eye, but it has since switched, which is crazy.
Okay.
So I started shooting left-handed, and it worked really well. And to the point of where eventually I got recruited by the US Paralympic program, and I traveled all over the country and represented the United States. And it was amazing, man. And it was exactly what I needed, for the 7 seconds right before the arrow released and nothing else in the world mattered. It was the PTSD, the depression, the anxiety, all the crap that I deal with was gone for 7 seconds at a time. And I lived for those 7 seconds. So I did that for, 5 years, from 2015 until 2020. Technically, yeah, maybe 5.5, 6 years. And then 2020 hit and the world shut down, which means that archery was my therapy, my escape was then taken away. I wasn't able to go do that anymore. So I needed something, when it gets quiet is when the demons knock the loudest, and COVID was very quiet. And so I had a guitar in the corner of my room, and one day I was like, man, I'm going to learn how to play this thing. Like, I need something. Like, before the cup overflows, I need to find something that I can do that I can focus on.
Wait, not till 2020 you didn't pick up the guitar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah. It was, for me, it was just, I needed it. I needed something that I knew that learning how to play the guitar was going to be hard enough that I could truly like fully immerse myself in it and focus on it and get out of my head from all the stuff that I deal with. And so I jumped on YouTube and I started learning. And I deep dove into learning how to play the guitar.
You realize that was 5 years ago, and now you're doing songs with Dolly Parton?
Yeah, right?
That's so
crazy.
wild.
It's crazy. And so it went from that to I was like, man, I have all these feelings and I have all these thoughts. Like, I want to put them somewhere. And I was like, I'm going to learn how to write songs. So then I went on YouTube and I started learning how to write songs, how songs are structured, and how you go from a verse to a chorus and then to a bridge and then back. And I I just deep dove into learning how to write, and it gave me an outlet to where I could take my feelings and my emotions that I was struggling with hard at this time and just put them somewhere. And you know, the songs that I wrote are terrible because at that time it was just word vomit. I needed to get things out, and I needed to put it somewhere else other than inside of me and dealing with it. And so I did that, and I started kind of finding an escape and learning how to write and writing songs, and then the world slowly started opening up, and I went to an open mic night in Cookeville, Tennessee, at Red Silo Brewing Company is what it was called, and they had an open mic night, and I was like, man, I'm gonna put my name on the list. Why not? Like, let's see what happens. Like, I've learned how to play the guitar. I've learned all these songs that I, you know, because that's how I taught myself, is I learned songs that I had been listening to my whole life because I knew what they were supposed to sound like. So if they didn't sound like that, then I knew I needed to fix something. And a lot of times it was easier for me to learn new chords and stuff like that as I was learning a song, because for me, it was just easier. I don't know why. And so I went up on stage and I played the first song I ever learned how to play, which was Should Have Been a Cowboy by Toby Keith.
Oh,
and
good song.
Yes, absolutely. And in that moment, I knew that this is what I needed to do forever. Like that escape and that sense of purpose and that peace that I had found in archery and learning how to play the guitar and write songs. Like, it was there, but it was magnified 100 times.
So it's that deep focus that you need. You need that obsession.
100%. Yeah. And it was, you know, it was there, but it was magnified, and it was kind of like a drug a little bit.
Yep.
And, you know, in that moment was when the stage became a sanctuary for me. And that kind of propelled everything to the point of where I was like, I need to do this all the time. So the world started opening up, and I had found out from some of my friends that down on Broadway, you play 3 to 4 hours a day. And I was like, well, man, 3 to 4 hours a day, I can escape the PTSD, the depression, the anxiety, all that stuff. I'm gonna go do that. It's hard to get on Broadway.
Yeah.
So I walked up and down Broadway for probably 2 months and just bugged the crap out of booking people until they let me on a stage. Like, I would truly just show up and talk to them every day and ask to get on a stage until they were like, all right, man, geez, go play. And then
that feels like my tactic. I annoy people till things happen.
That's how it is, man. Well, you know, I love it. For me, it was like, I had no shame, you know, like for me, that I had found something that I was able to truly like get away from all the bad, and the need and want for that outweighed any of the, you know, the embarrassment that I would feel.
Right. But also a lot of people look at that as you can respect it. Like they're not giving up. Yeah. And a lot of people have like pitched stuff to me, and when they just give up after one, it's like, well, I guess you didn't think that idea was really any good anyway. Yeah. So, but when they keep coming back, it's like, fine, I'll listen. And like, oh my goodness. Yeah, 100%.
So, well, we were kind of talking about before this, Jake and I were talking about it. It is a little interesting. I think like a combat vet, especially one that's like been the recipient of such extreme violence, like yourself. Most people, the average person, like a just typical civilian, any stage is not a place for peace or sanctuary or like no anxiety. It's the opposite.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of funny that given your background and some of the things that, you know, you've had to deal with, like going up on a stage is like, that's pretty easy, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, I still get nervous for sure. But I think, you know, getting nervous just means that you care. But, you know, at the end of the day, no one's shooting at me, you know? So
he's basically like, this ain't shit.
Well, it's like, hey, man, no one shot at me today. Like, I was like,
you're good, though. Like, you know, if you weren't good, you know, maybe you might
I appreciate
take
that.
some incoming fire. But
yeah, you know, I mean, I still get nervous, but it's crazy, man. It's like, as soon as I walk out on that stage, like, it's one of the only, like, there's only 2 times that I can truly live in a moment. Like, someone who suffers from PTSD, depression, anxiety, like, I live in Afghanistan a lot. I think about it all the time. It's always there. I think about my friends that didn't make it back. It's always there. And there's only 2 places in the world where it disappears. And one of them is when I'm on my motorcycle. And the other is when, as soon as I step on stage, it's like all of that disappears and I'm able to just live in a moment. And, you know, something like that is so valuable. to the point of where I was playing on Broadway 5 to 6 nights a week. And it was like my vocal cords hated me, absolutely hated me. But it was, you know, the need for it outweighed any of the bad. And, you know, I was great, like mentally and stuff like that. And crazy, somehow I ended up here, and now I have a platform, and I have, you know, the ability to share my story and share my music, and hope that it gives someone some type of inspiration to be able to find something like I was able to.
Well, so real quick, how did you get signed to a label or to this Black River Entertainment? Did you go the door to door to door like you did before?
No.
Or did they find you?
No, you know, it's crazy. For like, everyone was like, oh man, you must have went and bugged him, whatever. And I was like, no, like for me, Broadway was great. You know, I was good. You know, I was mentally, I mean, I was using music as a form of therapy. So mentally, I was in a great spot. So I was like, man, I'm good here. Like, I'll just stay playing Broadway because it's doing what I need it to do. And I was with my mom one day, and she was like, I'm going to go buy a car. And I was like, she was like, just come with me. And I was like, I don't know anything about cars, but
Was this here in Nashville?
I'll go. Yeah, this is here in Nashville because I've lived here since 2015, since I got out of the military. I moved from Fort Riley down here because a lot of my guys were going and getting stationed at Fort Campbell. And I was like, well, that's closer to Cincinnati, where I'm originally from anyhow. So I'll just move down there and be with you guys. And so moved down here. But yeah, I was with my mom one day, and she was like, I'm going to go buy a car. And I was like, man, I don't know anything about cars, but I'll go with you because she's probably going to buy me food while we're there. And I like free food.
Yeah. That's such a son thing to
100%,
say.
man.
Yeah.
Man, mom's going to buy food for sure.
Yeah.
So I went, and her salesman was the son of Gordon Kerr, Black River Entertainment, the president and CEO of Black River Entertainment.
Wow.
And we started talking about my story a little bit, and how I use music as therapy, and all the things that I've been through, and the way that I use music. And he was like, man, that's incredible. Like, do you have any music out? And at this time I had one song out. It's called Truck It. And the only reason why I put it out was because I wanted to know what it was like to go in and record something, because I've heard all of my buddies being like, man, like this playing live is a completely different world than recording anything. And I was like, well, I want to know what that's like. Like, that seems kind of cool. So I went and recorded a song called Truck It, and I had that out, and he listened to it, and he was like, well, the song's okay, but your story's really great. And he's like, you know, I'm going to send this to my dad, and I'm going to send it to Doug Johnson, the A&R guy at Black River. And he said, I'm not making any promises, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe, I mean, at least he says more than likely my dad will at least want to meet you because of your story. And I was like, amazing, man. I would love that. But you know, Nashville's full of people who love talking, and then nothing ever happens. But 3 hours later, I got a call from Doug Johnson, the A&R here. He said, man, I have to meet you. And I was like, I can be there right now. I'm in sweatpants, but I can be there. Like,
and I've got lunch in my hand.
I was like, man, I'll even bring McDonald's, man. If you're no, he was like, no, like let's set something up, and I want you to come in, and I want to meet you, and I want you to meet Gordon, our president and CEO. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, man, that'd be awesome. So I came in here just thinking that I was going to meet Doug and Gordon and kind of share my story, not thinking anything was going to come from it. Like, I never thought that this was going to be a thing. And so I came in, just started talking to him, and we all really hit it off. I mean, it was very quickly where Doug Johnson here at A&R started to feel like family. And yeah, man, that was, God, man, that was like, what, 2 years ago-ish now? And it's funny, for a while, I was here at Black River, and I was just Doug's guy. Like, no one knew who I was. It was so funny. Because Doug took the time to not only help me build like songwriting, and not only help me build on that end, but he took the time to develop me as an artist, and knowing what I want to say and how I want to say it. You know, I came in with this idea, if this was going to be a thing, I was going to use my music to help people, and that's all I cared about. And Doug kind of helped me fine tune that a little bit and understand the music side of it, and how to translate what I want to do into the music and push it out and move it forward. And also, I mean, he just took the time to teach me and develop me. And, you know, and it's crazy because nowadays, like, that doesn't really exist in this industry anymore. And I was incredibly fortunate to be able to, you know, I mean, he did the same with Blake Shelton. I mean, this guy basically found Blake Shelton and helped him develop into who Blake Shelton is. And I'm like,
Wow.
man, like, someone at that level, like, wanted to take the time to help me become, like, to not only help me become where I am now, but help me share my story and help me try to help other people. And it was amazing, man. And now, you know, Black River has become family. And I signed my record deal sometime last year and my publishing deal sometime last year as well.
Wow.
And it was, or maybe the year before. Yeah, the year before. There we go. And yeah, man, it's been crazy.
Can we talk about mindset a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I think you have, for one thing, taken, I think, a different path to get here than a lot of people.
A little more difficult
And it's
than
painful,
the average person trying to
painful.
get into country.
Well,
But it's been, I think, from my perspective, a path of constantly needing to like reinvent yourself, because you went from baseball player to Army Infantryman to dramatically injured Army Infantryman, having to like relearn how to use your body. And then, you know, on top of that, like learning to become an Olympic level archer.
Yeah.
And then play the guitar. So like, and probably, have you always been a singer?
I've always sang as kind of like a hobby, but never at this level.
Okay. So like not only have you had to adapt along the way, but you've succeeded in really impressive fashion, to learn a new thing and very rapidly excel at it. So like, what has your mindset been to like get you through all of those things?
Yeah. You know, after I got shot, you know, there was a long time where it was, you know, just sit around and sulk and feel sorry for myself. And you know, like I said, I heard Till the Last Shot's Fired, and it was like something flipped in me at Walter Reed. And that was the moment that I decided that I was just going to live every day for my buddies that would never have the opportunity. And I was going to use the time that I have been blessed to have to try to do something that mattered again. And, you know, for a while I was able to do that with archery, and I was able to, not only was I shooting and competing in archery, but I was also teaching archery to people with disabilities like myself, because me being, you know, an adaptive archer, I know the ins and outs of adaptive archery and how to teach someone who doesn't have an arm how to shoot archery. And I know these different things, and I was able to use, you know, for me, archery saved me and it gave me that escape, and I wanted to try to give that to someone else who needed it. So I was able to teach archery and how to shoot archery. Nice. And then it went from that to now, you know, I feel like the mindset has always been just do something that means something. And, you know, and then when you do decide when you decide that this is what you want and that there's a chance that it could actually help someone, go all in and don't look back. And, you know, that's kind of how music became what it is. And that's, you know, it's funny. I've always told everyone here at Black River that, you know, I may not be the most talented artist that's going to be on the roster, but I guarantee I'm going to work way harder than anybody else. And, you know, that's very much a military mindset. And it just, you know, and it's true. Like like you can ask any of the team here at Black River, I work just as hard as they do. And that's the only way, you know, and honestly, this is the only way that I feel comfortable with them working for me, is that I'm working just as hard as they are.
Well, I've had scenarios where I've worked with an artist in the past and they were so talented and it came so easy to them that they were so lazy, they just kind of fell out of the industry. Yeah. And then the person that was half as talented gave it their all is the person that popped off. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. Especially, I saw
and I'm
very
not saying
quickly.
You're not talented.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like that hard work. Is like so
100%
important,
especially if you're not talented.
It makes it easier.
And you see it for sure in this town, in Nashville. You really see it. I mean, you see the people that are incredibly talented. You're like, dude, what? Yeah. Like, how are you not there? And then you see like me, who's like, you know, I just got started, but I'm out there bugging the hell out of everyone on Broadway until they put me out there. I'm out here working on something all the time. I'm always working on guitar. I'm always working on my vocals. I'm working on trying to get podcasts set up, and I'm working on, I mean, there's a lot of times I bug the people here at Black River because I'm like, I need to do this and this, and what can we do this? Can we do that? But yeah, man, I mean, I think it's important to if you're going to have people that work for you, that you put out just as much as they do. Yeah. They can't care more than you do. And I think that that's just kind of a mindset that I've lived with, is that I can't feel good at night going to bed knowing that someone is working harder for me than I am.
Yeah,
and,
I can't help also within the context of the things you're saying, think about you as a father, because I want to talk about you being a dad. We're dads, as we talked about.
Absolutely.
Your daughter's here with you today. You got 4 kids. So
you've got more kids than us combined. So we should be asking you advice.
Well, I don't know if you want to do that.
Well, no, just you talk about making a difference, though. Like
100%.
Your kids are watching you and hearing this story. And
one of them's right here right now.
But I mean, like along the way in your life and this journey, and you talk about your work ethic, your mindset, and like overcoming things, learning new things. Like, I mean, that's got to make a huge difference, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I hope that, you know, I've said this from the beginning with the kids, is I just want to live a life where they're proud enough to say that that's my dad, you know, and hopefully I set a good example for them, you know, and hopefully, you know, I instill that idea of never quitting. And if it's something you want, you go for it and you go all in. And hopefully that, you know, that registers to them. And, you know, I'm just trying, like every other dad, man, trying to do the best I possibly can. And
kids will keep you humble too.
Man, for real.
Dude, as soon as you think that, like, dude, I'm pretty cool, they will humble you so quick.
Oh man, it's crazy.
Because my kids do it all the time. So they're hilarious, man. I love it.
They're amazing, and it's always great when I can have them at a show. Like I made my Grand Ole Opry debut, and all 4 of them were there, and it was
that
amazing.
like?
Man, it was one of the greatest nights of my life, honestly.
And having your family there.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, you know, there's just something. I mean, it's the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the mountaintop.
What'd you play the first song?
So it was the 30th anniversary of Forrest Gump. So we played. Fortunate Son was the first song, because we had to pick a song that was on the soundtrack of the
soundtrack
movie.
of that movie is incredible.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing. That's why they're like, yeah, you know, we're gonna do that, but you have to pick a song. And I was like, dude, how do you pick one song?
That was a good
all
pick,
of
though.
these are
That
so
was a good
good.
pick.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to find a song on that soundtrack that was very much a soldier. You know, when you hear Fortunate Son, you see a helicopter in the jungle going into. You see that scene from the movie. Yeah, and. So I was like, man, it's a no-brainer. Like, I think that day after Gary Sinise asked me to come and make my Grand Ole Opry debut, he's like, just let me know, like, what song you want. I think, like, within the hour, I was like, Fortunate Son. Like, that's the only right answer for me.
Wow.
And so we did Fortunate Son, and then the second song that I did was How Do You Choose, which is a song that I wrote about my survivor's guilt and my best friend being killed in Afghanistan. And the most incredible part of that whole night, you know, was having my kids there, but also when I played How Do You Choose, which is a song about Adam Hamilton, my best friend that was killed, Adam Hamilton's family was in the crowd that night. And it was incredible.
How are you emotionally with that?
It was actually, I'm surprised I made it through.
Okay.
Because during sound check, I cried like a baby. So I am very surprised that I made it through. And there were definitely, I was fighting back tears for sure. Just knowing that, I mean, you feel the weight of all the history before you when you step in that circle. And not only that, but having Adam Hamilton's family there to share that moment, and having a lot of my military brothers and sisters throughout all my career in the military and stuff, they came and they were there, and it was
probably so proud of you, though.
It was amazing, man. It was so funny. Like you hear, you know, military people are loud. That's just what we are. You know? We yell.
One of our good buddies is a Navy SEAL or ex-Navy SEAL, and he is a loud man.
Yeah, man.
They're Ben Wallach. We love you, buddy.
100%. Like we're just loud, man. We're gonna yell. We're gonna scream, and you could hear it.
It's probably just because you can't hear anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what we talk so loud, because we can't even hear ourselves. Absolutely.
And you're getting into the music industry, and so you're definitely not going to be able to hear after.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And but yeah, it was amazing, because like you hear like all the whoos, like people yelling like throughout the Opry and stuff, and I was like, man, this is really cool.
You're really like plugged into that community, right? I mean,
100%.
like nonprofit stuff.
100%. Yeah, I mean, nonprofits saved my life, and they save so many veterans' lives every year. And if I can do something to give back to that, I mean, I 100% jump on that. Absolutely. Especially if it's a nonprofit that I align with, like Guitars for Vets. Like, they help veterans heal from their PTSD through learning how to play guitar. That's exactly what I did. Like, absolutely, I understand that. Like, I want to be a part of that. Creative Vets is another one. They help veterans through, express themselves and heal from their PTSD through art. Same, man. Like, I get that. Like, I understand how much that helps. So it's without a doubt so easy for me to align with people like that. But yeah, man, I mean, anything that I can do to just help. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I don't care about being famous. I don't care about making money. All I want is someone to hear my song or someone to hear my story and for it to make them put the gun down or to try tomorrow or for it to, maybe light a fire inside of them to be like, man, to just kind of show them that there's so much more.
It would be so cool same way that song, like, turned it on for you, that I'm going to live for my buddies. I'm going to live for my family.
100%.
Like, you actually have the opportunity now to do that to thousands of people.
Yeah.
And like, whew, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you will, man.
And the thing is, I get messages sometimes all the time. I mean, the best messages I ever get are the ones that are like, man, like, I heard this song, like, thank you for giving me a voice when I didn't know what to say. And thank you for, helping me explain how I'm feeling to my family. And it's just like, man, I mean, that's what it's all about for me.
Because not many people, like, civilians, can't understand.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to relate.
Yeah.
Like, like, I'm a guy just like you. I'm a father, but like, that's a section of life that I did not go through. Like, I've not been shot 10 times. I mean, I fell down the stairs too many times, but I can't relate in a way where you can be like, you get it.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I understand. I pulled through.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
It's cool, man.
How do you choose it's crazy because that song is so personal to me. Like, it's a song about my survivor's guilt and and the argument, the conversation that I have with God on a daily basis about why the hell am I still here? And and some of the greatest people I've ever known aren't. And it's crazy. I have people who weren't ever in the military that just lost a son or a daughter or a mom or a dad, like people who just lost someone that reach out and they're like, man, that song made me understand that I'm not alone in feeling what I feel. And I mean, that's what it's all about, man. That's all that matters. And yeah, man, I feel like I don't know, especially now that I have some success and I have this platform that people look up to. I think that it went from me wanting to help to now not only me wanting to help, but kind of feel like it's a responsibility of mine that I need to be out there and I need to help people. And
it's only going to get bigger and bigger too. So I think it's cool. Real quick, on your YouTube channel, you talk about the whole scenario.
100%.
And I watched that video. It's crazy. You were talking about how it just felt like a hot iron as you were being shot. But one of the things that really stood out in the story, were you saying that you were the metal detector for looking for bombs?
Yeah.
Okay, first off, what did you do wrong to get that job? What did you pick it?
I did not. It was actually it was given to me, and it was a Valen. It's basically a metal detector to find the IEDs in the ground as we're walking. So I was the very front of the line.
So it's like, if Scotty's okay, we can walk.
Yeah, yeah. If we don't see Scotty, then we probably shouldn't
go that way, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I mean, they trained us really well with it, and it was to the point of where I was probably the most trained person with it, and I felt the most comfortable. Wow. I feel like if I wouldn't have had that, I wouldn't have felt as comfortable as I did going on patrols.
Were you having to do this as like a stand-in for an EOD?
No, this is just what we in the Army did in Afghanistan with movements as walking is, I mean, they had pressure plates everywhere.
Aren't you supposed to have an EOD though?
Yeah.
Do that?
Well, no, but there's only so many EOD people.
Right. So you're just having to make it work.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
So as you were talking, you kind of just brushed it off as like, oh, that's what I did. I'm like, holy heck, he's the first guy looking for things to explode, and you just went on like that's just the normal everyday. That's the thing, is a lot of us don't understand that. See, that's why he doesn't get nervous on stage, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and it's crazy because if we found a pressure plate, we were supposed to wait for EOD, but usually they took like hours to get out there. So a lot of times we would just kind of dig it up a little bit and then like just kind of put a grenade on it and pull the pin and walk away and let it take care of itself.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I mean, it was, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I was the most trained person with that element, with what I was doing in that job. And it would have been really
protecting your
weird.
guys too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's another thing, I was the first line of defense, for us. And, especially from the things that go boom in the ground, which is something that really took a lot of us out. And unfortunately, that's how we lost some of my best friends after I got shot. And again, that's a survivor's guilt thing that I deal with every day about, the fact that I wasn't the valiant operator. I wasn't the guy. I wasn't there to find the things that I was trained to find in the ground, and they stepped on them, and they're not here anymore.
It sounds like the survivor's guilt is like probably for you the biggest part of your post-traumatic stress, right?
100% it is. It's, I get, of course I lay in bed and, see the guy that shot me every day. But the thing that I struggle with the most is the survivor's guilt. The fact that, that I'm here and,
well, like you said in your story, the guy who shot you, he's no longer here.
Yep. No, he's not.
Your buddies took care of him. And, I was satisfied to hear that. Just to let you know. I was like, good, they caught him.
Listen, so was I. After I got shot, my platoon leader called me and he's like, just so you know, the guy that shot you is no longer here. And I was like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Feel a little bit better.
Good.
Well, as far as like the, survivor's guilt goes, like you've already kind of said this, but I mean, it's an amazing kind of full circle thing that now you are able to, through some of the nonprofits and even just through your music, help so many of these guys and gals that have some of that those same feelings. You're helping them find a way to express it, and a way to kind of like harness those feelings and those emotions, and like be much less destructive about it. And that's
100%. Yeah, I mean, I just want I want someone who is spiraling or struggling and not really knowing like what the future holds. That there is so much more that you can do than just sit on a couch and feel sorry for yourself, and you can get out there and you can do something, and you can there's things out there that you can jump into that will help in some way, shape, or form. Music was mine, and before that it was archery, and I hope that someone hears this and looks into something for themselves.
Yeah.
Well, I want to stay. I know we're this is it, but I want to stay in contact. Yeah, because like we do documentaries and such like that. We're in a little bit. We're doing some stuff with Honor Flight, which is where they
love it.
They're going back and forth. We're hoping to actually do a podcast with some of the World War II guys.
Yeah,
and but anyways, for us, it's very important. Yeah. So let's stay in contact. In like,
absolutely, man.
Maybe
the
we can
World
do
War II
something.
guys are awesome,
Dude,
man.
They don't give. They don't care about it. They'll tell you how it is.
I love
it.
I played 6 different shows in Normandy for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Yeah, Whoa. It was amazing, man. At one point in time, we played in St. Mary-Gallice in the Square, which is the first town that was liberated by the United States. We played in front of 20,000 something people. It was incredible. And the best part about it, though, was being able to connect with the World War II vets and just seeing, dude, they're treated like freaking rock stars over there.
They are rock stars.
It's awesome, man. It's so cool to see. And there were just so many beautiful moments, man. And I was able to really connect with one specifically, Dennis Bolt. He's an incredible person. And it was his first time back to Normandy since he stormed Utah Beach at 19. And it was amazing to see, man. And it was so cool to see, like, the best part about the whole experience was being next to Dennis and seeing that all of that bad hell on earth, his best friends being killed, all of that was for this, to see the people living their lives and being free while they live their lives. Like, just seeing him realize that everything that happened was for what he's seeing in this moment and all the different generations that he's seeing. Like, it was beautiful, man. It was amazing.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, like, when I think about the average, Nashville musician or artist, like, they carry the burden of performing their song correctly and expressing it. They may carry a burden of a label or management or whatever, but that maybe, I would say, for a lot of them is kind of where it ends. I notice with you, it sounds like you keep intentionally placing yourself in situations where your music and your performance and your message has a much, much higher cause. Like, whether you're playing for these, these vets in Normandy, whether you're, doing your nonprofit stuff, playing at the Opry for, your friend who passed in his family.
Absolutely.
Like, these are impossibly difficult things for you to do. And like you said, I mean, it's hard to get through without tears and hard to like, the responsibility is enormous. And I think it's super cool. Like you're essentially still serving. I mean, you're giving back to these families and to the community that, and so like it hasn't stopped for you.
It's really cool.
Yeah. You know, it's for me, music is bigger than just me.
It's clear.
For me, music and my story have an ability to help somebody. And I need to put myself into a position where I can actually do some good. Yeah. And that means, you know, I may play, you know, the bar down the street. I may play somewhere where it's a room full of just veterans. Like there's so many different things that I do. And like you said, a lot of it is putting myself in a situation where I know that I have the ability to reach out to somebody. And yeah, I mean, that to me is the most important thing that I can do, way more important than the music.
Yeah. Where can people follow you and support you?
Yeah, on all my socials at Scotty Hasting Music, scottyhasting.com.
You got anything coming out recently?
Yeah, March 7th, we have a song coming out called Pro Beer.
Awesome.
It's going to be fun, man. It's, you know, for the first EP that we put out, it was a lot of like serious stuff. It was a lot of really hard things and it was kind of the direction that I wanted to go. You know, again, I want to help people with my music. The only way that I can do that is to open my chest up and let them see my heart and let them see my vulnerability. And this first EP that we released, the I'm America EP, was that. I mean, I had the stories that they tell on it. I had Good Old Dogs and God on there. I had How Do You Choose? These are all songs that are very personal to me in my heart and soul. And then we realized, man, like we don't have any fun songs on this thing. And, you know, so we decided, you know, and there's so much more to me than just this serious, like sad guy. It's funny. Like all my friends are like, dude, stop putting serious songs out. You're not that serious. And, so, you know, with this song, we wanted to kind of show another side of me, and let people see the fun, silly side. And, but you know, it's a fun, like very Toby Keith-ish song that you can just get together with friends and have a good time. And, you know, at the root of it, it's still a song about bringing people together and just having fun. And, you know, for me, that still very much aligns with what I want to do with my music and my career.
Well, we're going to come out to your show. I think I will when you come into Illinois.
Paxton, Illinois, March 15th.
Yeah. I want to come out. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be so much fun.
I want to have you on the podcast again.
I would love that.
I want to see. I think you're going someplace. So I'd love to see your career blow up. And
thank you.
I like your hat. Grateful.
Thank you.
I think that's very important. We need to be grateful.
Yeah, and this is this is part of the merch, so it's going to be available here very soon on the merch store. But yeah.
Nice.
Well, cool. Anything else we want to say? I know you got to get over to practice.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thanks, buddy.
It's been fun.
Absolutely.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.